Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. To be very frank with you, we have organized this round table with a view to understand a very complex situation. And I don't think the emerging scenario can be understood and explained within the framework of the theory as well as the conspiracy syndrome. I have been trying to follow these developments, trying to analyze in my own mind what is taking place and where we are leading. And I must say that personally I am in an area which can only be described as hazy. I am trying to understand, but there are a few thoughts that I would like to share with you. First is, I don't regard this to be an unexpected, abrupt development. Things had been moving in that direction. The lava was very much there. It just waited for an opportunity to explode. And that has happened. And this happens in history in all major revolutionary situations. Secondly, I feel that essentially it is a popular movement to seek liberation from domestic tyranny and external hegemony. Because by and large, rulers in the Arab Muslim world and the neo-colonial powers, they are hand in glove with each other. The lip service to democracy and human rights does not really take us very far. These cliches have always been invoked, and even when we reflect upon the entire scenario of colonialism, we find behind that tall talk of a civilizing mission. If it was civilizing mission in the 18th and 19th century, it has become democracy and human rights in the present phase. We have to go beyond these words and see what the real agenda of the hegemonistic powers is. I have also strong reservations about the players who are behind the scenes. I have no reservation in saying that people's uprising is genuine, is indigenous, it is a result of accumulated helplessness, hatred, disenchantment, and the inherent urge to break this situation and move towards a better future. Tunis and Egypt, it seems, while they are the catalysts, in a way pace setters, but the development of the other parts, particularly Yemen, Bahrain and Bolivia, suggests a qualitative change in the domestic as well as the international environment. And I have my very strong apprehensions about role that intelligence agencies, that European powers, their surrogates are playing. As far as Tunis and Egypt are concerned, I am really much more hopeful. And I feel that the resistance forces, which have both Islamic elements, very strong, but also those who have a more liberal approach, and the efforts to demonize the Islamic forces, it seems, has not been successful. And the Islamic forces have played their cards very carefully so that this situation may not be exploited by outsiders to scuttle this process of change. Libyan situation has become most explosive. Bahrain, of course, is also very relevant. And to be very frank with you, I am one of those who had great hopes from Libya in the initial phases. Personally, I had been visiting the country, involved in a number of conferences and meetings at all levels, including the topmost level. But later on, the direction they took, I became very hurt and disappointed. During the last 10-15 years, I have been very critical of the way the Libyan rulers were conducting the affairs of their country. But having said so, I firmly believe that the UN resolution, a very shabbily worded resolution, which so vague that it can be exploited by anyone for whatever purposes they want to use it. This right of so-called humanitarian intervention, which began in the Balkan context, Bosnia context, which has been invoked on other occasions, and now that has become a stick to beat, an instrument to penetrate. Yesterday, along with the leaders of parliamentary parties, I had an occasion to meet the British Prime Minister, and I am sorry to say that I was the only person who raised these two issues with him, that the so-called war on terror, is it not time, a decade has passed, that we should objectively review whether the terrorist act condemned on all counts of 9/11 was a greater crime against humanity, or the response to 9/11, which has led to globalization of terrorism, has made the world much more insecure, and all that has been achieved towards having an international law and some norms for international behavior, how that has been affected. And secondly, that however unhappy we may be with the use of force, then definitely the desert should be condemned by the Libyan authorities. And as it has come out very well, Libya is one of those countries, I am sorry to say, where even the concept of an organized army, a disciplined force for the state, is not there. There are militias, and not one, controlled by different persons and being used as personal armies. But having said so, the intervention of US and NATO forces, I told you point blank, is a violation of international law, invasion of violation of sovereignty, and it's a form of neo-colonialism, and is paving the way for that. Of course, he disagreed, But I thought it's time to tell them the feelings of the people in Pakistan, Arab world, Muslim world, and I even said a significant section of people in the Western world. So I think it's a very fundamental issue. His response, of course, was the same, that Gaddafi would have butchered Qazi if we had not been there. But I think it's a very complex issue, and opening up the doors of intervention in this form, to me, is a very alarming situation. Another point that I would very quickly refer to is that there is one more dimension, and that is they are trying to use this situation to fan sectarian feelings and rivalries. And Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Syria. So all these dimensions have to be kept in view. I do not have a clear answer what should be our response, but definitely I think it is time for the leaders as well as the people to realize the dangers, the new threats, internal and external, we are faced with. That needs some new initiatives. But one thing I would like to say, this is my gut feeling that Middle East is not going to be the same after these events. So let us try to see how we can come out of this situation, move to something that is better, participatory. People could move towards a political situation where they feel that they are empowered and they can fashion their affairs according to their own lives. To me, democracy and Islamization are two sides of the same coin. And that is why in the Muslim world, secularism could never be introduced through democratic, open processes. I recollect in 1953, when the first colloquium was held in the United States, one of their legal experts said that secular laws can never be enforced in a Muslim country without dictatorial law. That is the dilemma, but that's also the reality. So we have to see how that we can come out of this debate. These are just very random thoughts, but I thought that these dimensions also be kept in view while we are discussing this issue. Thank you very much.